Hey everybody, how are you? I'm doing good, thanks. So, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit open and candidly on my drama mama life again. So, apparently my ex thinks that if he sends a hoe to every single guy that tries to talk to me, that somehow that's magically gonna erase all the bad stuff that he ever fucking did to me and to my daughter and to my sons. I don't know how you think. You can see my vampire fangs. I got vampire fangs. Anyways, I don't know how you think that you can do so much damage to someone and just act like nothing ever happened. And then, like, you can force them to love you again. And by being mean and bullying and demanding and domineering and just bullshit fucking crazy. That's not how you make someone love you again. And then, you sit there and you're like, I'm going to ruin every relationship that you ever try to get into until you come back to me. Well, honey, that's why I'm filing for a divorce and filing a restraining order against you and your entire family, even them across the street. So, with that being said, divorce might turn into criminal cases. I don't know. We haven't gotten there yet. So, you can't deny me a divorce attorney. So, anyways, it's so funny. So, anyways, I just think it's funny how, like, your abusers continue to abuse you even after you've left, thinking like somehow they're going to scare you back to them, or like, if they ruin every relationship that you ever try to get in, then you're just gonna just be like, oh baby, I couldn't find nobody better than you. Oh, please take me back. Please, baby, take me back. Please, take me back. Please, I beg you. It doesn't happen that way. Once we hate you, we always hate you. And we would rather eat someone else's shit than to deal with yours. Especially when I would be sitting, the alternative would be I would be sitting in the house getting my face beat in and broken and my eyes swollen shut and blood pouring from my face and my mouth all busted up and my jaws all broken and wishing I was dead anyways. At least common sense tells me I have a better chance of surviving, leaving my abuser and never going back, than leaving my abuser and going back. And common sense also tells me once you leave, don't ever go back. Because once a hitter, always a hitter. They never stop. They always tell you, oh baby, it'll never happen again. I can't tell you how many women I know have died from hearing those words. Oh baby, I'll never do it again. This time I'll change. This time I'll be different. This time I'll be better. They always swear they're going to change and it's always going to be better. It never changes and it never gets better. Once a hitter, always a hitter. They're never going to change. Do you know how hard enough it is to change a child? Let alone trying to change a grown human being. It's hard enough to change a child who's been in an abusive home. Now try changing an adult that's been living as an abuser in a home. And then try changing the wife who has battered women syndrome and complex PTSD, and who knows that if she goes back, she's dead. Because that's me. I know for 100% of a fact, if I ever went back to my ex, I would be dead. You would never hear from me again. You would never see me again. You would never see me on YouTube or on Facebook or on social media. You would never, ever hear from me again because he killed me. Every 3 minutes, a woman and a child die at the hands of a man. Every 3 minutes, a woman and a child die at the hands of a man. That means some woman and child is dying right now because of a man. Right now. And then 3 minutes from now, another woman and a child are gonna die. Because men keep getting away with domestic violence and child abuse. There are not stricter penalties or laws for domestic violence perpetrators or child abusers. Child abusers and woman beaters need to have stricter laws. And the reason to that is because every domestic violence woman who goes back, they always tell every domestic violence women always go back 9 times before they finally leave. It only took me once. Because it was so damn hard for me to get out and to leave the first time without dying. Like, I got out of there with like an inch of my life. That if I ever went back, I know I would be dead. Because every time I fall asleep next to my husband, something bad happens to me. Let me say that again. Every time I go to sleep and I close my eyes on my husband, something bad happens to me. And I'm not talking like a small thing. I'm talking like I'm getting wrapped in a blanket and drug out my back door and tortured. I'm getting beaten while I'm asleep. You can hear them. Like, they're verbally abusive. They're physically abusive. They're abusive to the kids, which is why me and the kids are stuck apart because of the financial domestic violence. They wanted to stick me on Social Security that gives me $964 a month. How in the hell am I supposed to pay $1,400 to $2,000 or $2,500 a month for an apartment on $964 a month? There is no fucking way in hell anyone, pardon my French, that anyone can live that way. Not with the cost of living and the cost of groceries. And then even if I could manage to find an apartment for $964, how am I going to pay my utilities? How am I going to feed myself? Now I got food stamps, okay? So now I can feed myself. Now, how am I going to pay my electric and my water bill and my cable bill? Or what if I need a car? Or what if I need to go away to go back and forth from the hospital? These are things that are costs of living that every human being should be entitled to. Every human being has a right to good health care. Every human being has a right to fall asleep in the safety of their own home without a stranger coming in to hurt them, or even someone who's not a stranger. Everyone has the right to the American freedoms and the American dreams that are offered to every freaking American in the United States. You do not get to come into someone's house and beat them just because they drink. You do not get to come into someone's house and beat them just because they smoke marijuana. Marijuana is not even a strong enough sedative for someone to fall asleep and not to wake up to you hitting them or hurting them. Only anesthesia does that. Only anesthesia and the GHB drug can drug someone so unconscious that you can do what you did to me without me feeling it. And you've got to be getting those drugs from the hospital. Somewhere, someone has access to those drugs, and they're stealing the drugs from the hospital, giving it to little Joshua and them. So that way they can do whatever they want to me, and I'm unconscious. I'm under anesthesia. I don't even know it. Could it be the Haitian? Could it be Yolanda? Could it be one of Alicia's? Is it one of little Joshua's? Is it Majid? Mr. Patel? Someone is stealing it and giving it to them, so they can do this to me and me not feel it. And it needs to stop. If this can happen to me and they walk away, that means you're giving them permission to do this to every single woman in America. And it's not just my husband. It's his whole fucking set. In a gang set, you can't just be in a gang by yourself. No. You have to have help. The largest gang in the world has 800,000 members. And it's in Japan. In Japan, they have the world's largest gang. And they have 800,000 members. Now let's see how many CVL Nation has. Let's do this real quick. We're going to do a comparison. Hold on 1 second. Why he keeps wanting to fuck with me and think I'm playing. How many members is CVL Nation known to have? Reload. Let's see. It says the Almighty Vice Lord Nation, AVLN, of which the Conservative Vice Lords, CVL, is a prominent subset, is estimated by law enforcement, including the U.S. Department of Justice, to have between 30,000 and 35,000 members. Hold on a second. I'll read the rest of this to you. Let me wet my whistle. They operate across 28 states and in at least 74 to 75 cities, with a heavy presence in the Great Lakes region. Same people that did this to me. Historical numbers at their peak in the 1960s, vice lords estimated to have approximately 10,000 members across 26 branches on Chicago's west side. Structure. They are a founding member of the People Nation Alliance, and despite the conservative label originating as a community-focused effort in the 1960s, the organization expanded into a large, sophisticated criminal entity. The 30,000 to 35,000 figure represents a broader almighty vice lord nation, which encompasses various factions, including conservative vice lords, unknown vice lords, and others. So they're estimated, they stem out of Chicago. And they have a total of 30 to 35,000. Here, I'll turn this around so you can see it. So, it says right here. Well, there we go. 30 to 30. Oh, shit. Back. Whoop. Okay, I'll just post it. I'll take a picture and I'll post it. But it says they stem out of Chicago from the 1960s. And they're also in the Great Lakes region. They're also in Miami. They're also in Miami. They're also in Atlanta. Caesar is here. Chicago Black Ink Crew. So he's CVL and is willing to admit it. Let's see. How many people? How many members of CVL Nation are known to be in New York? Let's see. Based on according CVL Nations. Okay, so the region presence. While they are major national gang, their primary territory is noted as the Chicago metropolitan area and the Great Lakes region rather than New York. No New York data on that. That's bullshit, because Caesar and Duchess also have a Black Ink Crew in New York, and Caesar is a very well CVL Nation member. So the fact that Duchess and them are also operating in New York is bullshit. That is bullshit because they are in New York. Let's see, the conservative vice lords originated in North Lawndale, Chicago in the late 1950s. Then I'll show you this. Who are CVL Nation's allies? Okay. Let's see. CVL, the major Chicago street gang whose allies aren't traditional nations but smaller gangs. They absorb or align with the morphines Oh, that is bullshit. The fuck? Let me see. Hold on a minute. Hey, God. Hey, God. The hell? I can't even repeat what I just saw. I'm sorry. That was so funny. That was so ridiculous. Okay, let's see. Okay, vice lords are allies to the Latin counts, who fight against the Latin kings. They're allies to People Nation, Black Pea Stones. Their rivals are supposed to be Aryan Brotherhood, Simon City Royals, and Gangster Disciples and Black Disciples. They are also a founding member of the People Nation, several which is an alliance of several groups. Experts believe the Vice Nation or the Vice Lords have between. Okay, so they're known to have an alliance group like the Italian mob. Who is an ally? Let's see. Any ally is a state that a first. Oh, good Lord. What is that? That's crazy as hell. So, anyways, but there are CVL Nation and CVL Nation is yeah. Let's see. Let me see what this says under Wikipedia. Wikipedia is usually better. Let's see. In 1957, Vice Lord Gang was founded by several African American youths, originally in the North Longdale, northern neighborhood of Chicago. These youths met while incarcerated in the Illinois State Training School for Boys. At the time, they were led by founding member Edwin Pablo Perry. The name Vice was chosen when a gang founder looked up the term and found the meaning as having a tight hold. As the original Vice Lords group released from incarceration, they quickly began to recruit youths in their neighborhood and began to engage in conflicts with other clubs from various Chicago neighborhoods. By 1964, they had grown significantly by law enforcement due to their illegal activities, including robbery, theft, assaults, battery, intimidation, and extortion. They were noted to their violent behavior. CVLN, in an attempt at softening their public image, a leader of one of the original 8 Vice Lords changed the gang's name to conservative vice lords, which came to serve a purpose as a foundation of an entire vice lord nation. They developed new logos and advertised themselves as community outreach group. They went as far as to petition for a community outreach chapter named Conservative Vice Lord Incorporated. This attempt was successful enough that the group began to receive a large amount of positive publicity for the neighborhoods. In 1970, two Vice Lord leaders, Alfonso Alfred and Bobby Gore, applied for a $275,000 grant from the Rockefeller Foundation. The Rockefeller Foundation approved the grant. This particular era of the CVL is documented in the 1970 film Lord Thing by Chicago filmmaker DeWitt Beall. Those featured in the film included Bobby Gore, Kenneth the Goat Parks, Eddie Pepillo, Perry Don, McIlvaine, Leonardo Singali, and William Franklin. At the same time, the gang was successfully consolidated smaller neighborhood gangs, including the Cherokees. Y'all have a gang in Chicago called the Cherokees? That's so fucking insulting to me. Okay. That's why I laughed. I had to think about that twice. The Morphins? You have a game called the Morphins? The Comanches? Now I see what they mean by smaller gangs. The Comanches? Y'all trying to play cowboys and Indians in Chicago. Alright, so I really had to look that. That was so crazy to me. Let's see. Gang was consolidating neighborhood, Cherokee, Morphins, Comanches, the Continental Pimps. The Imperial Chaplains. The Clovers. The Cobras. The Braves. Let's see. Into the Vice Lord Nation. I gotta go take me some medicine here in a minute. Muslim identity adopted 1980s. So Muslims were introduced as vice lords in the 1980s. In the 1990s, versus VLs, while engaging in unusual activities, became more sophisticated and expanded into mortgage fraud, credit card fraud, money laundering. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, the Vice Lords Nation has been approximately 30,000 to 35,000 members, primarily in the Great Lakes region. Let's see. Most of them wearing the Playboy logo, as well as a red and gold 5-point star. Members often have tattoos of either on their hand, below the thumb, to identify themselves, also as a protective mechanism for membership, facing possible jail time, often stylized with top hat and cane, as well as champagne glass and a glove. Their colors are red and gold. So CVL Nation's colors are red and gold, not red and black. I was told they were red and black. But apparently here it says their colors are red and gold. Let's see, and then it says here, let's see, anything interesting. Eventually, let's see, Lloyd soon, let's see, it says in 1960, Willie Lloyd joined the Unknown Vice Lords, a fraction based along the 16th Street in Lawndale neighborhood. Lloyd became a fraction leader and recruiter, thousands of followers. Eventually, he proclaimed himself King of Kings and stated that he was the leader of the entire Vice Lord Nation. So it was, what was his name? Willie Lloyd, who announced himself. Coming from 16th Street, he proclaimed himself King of Kings and stated he was the leader of the entire Vice Lord Nation. However, his tenure was interrupted by a prison term for his part in the murder of a police officer in Iowa. Excuse me, Iowa. Lloyd continued to lead the gang on the outside through fellow inmates and prison employees affiliated with the gang. So, see, there are police officers who are also affiliated. It says right here, Lloyd continued to lead the gang on the outside through fellow inmates and prison employees affiliated with the gang while incarcerated. Lloyd wrote the Almagada Order of Lordism. The Almagada Order of Lordism. At 61-page manifesto, the Vice Lord commanded structure in the prisons and on the streets. He was incarcerated in 1971 until his release on parole in 1986. Then went back to prison a year later on weapons and conviction charges. Another parole in 92. When he left prison in 92, he was picked up by a fellow gang member dressed in furs who were driving a convoy of 5 limousines. Later in 1992, he was involved in protracted gang war over control of Vice Lord Nation, involving kidnapping and the murder of rival members' children. Law enforcement intensified its efforts to recover Lloyd from the streets, and from 1994 to 2001, he was again incarcerated on weapons violations. Let's see. Lloyd publicly quit the Vice Lords after his release from prison and became an outspoken critic of gang life. Lloyd attempted to earn a living as a gang mediator. And he became affiliated with a nonprofit organization. He was briefly a guest lecturer for a class called Street Gangs in Chicago, which was controversial, in part due to field trips and which Lloyd took students to the West Side. In August of 2003, Lloyd was shot 4 times in Garfield Park. This was the third assassination attempt on Lloyd. Lloyd became paralyzed from the neck down due to injuries from the shooting. Rumors persisted that Lloyd still wanted to collect a tax from the vice lords as its leader, even though he supposedly left the gang. Lloyd gave interviews stating that he believed his attackers included some of his former henchmen. Lloyd died in 2015 at the age of 64. Lloyd spent most of his life more inside of a prison than outside of a prison, and had 3 attempts on his life, and was finally shot to death at the age of 64. And that's what gang life gets you. You either go to jail or you go to prison. Just like Lloyd. That's what gang life gets you. You either spend your entire life in jail, in and out, or you end up dead by a rival. Either one's kind of a slow death in itself, isn't it? Still want to be a gang member? There's only two things being in a gang is going to get you. One is either definitely to prison, or 2 is definitely in a grave. There's no 2 ways about it. You're either going to prison or you're going in a grave. That's all that's it. He spent more time in prison than he ever did on his streets, on his own streets. Spent more time in prison than he ever did on his own streets. Finally had so much time done, that he finally said, you know what? You're right. I'm becoming an outspoken critic of gang life. And the reason why is because of all the time I did in prison, it wasn't worth it. And he wanted to help make other people's lives better for the bullshit that he started. He spent his entire life trying to redeem himself for the bullshit that he started in the first place. And he died at 64, being shot to death. You live by the gun, you die by the gun. You live by the gun, you die by the gun. And that's only if you don't go to jail and get life in prison or death row beforehand. Those are the only ones that survive the streets, really. The ones who either spend the rest of their lives incarcerated, or the ones who are sitting on death row waiting to die. Like all the other people who have committed crimes. So, take a little advice from Mr. Willie Lloyd's story. Gang life don't pay. Crime don't pay the bills. You spend more time in prison than you do out of it. And in the end, you're just going to get shot and dead anyways. By one of your rivals. Is it really worth it? Not to me, it's not. I'm not gonna die for some stupid ass punk who can't pull his own gun. I'm not gonna die for some stupid ass punk who can't beat up his own female. I'm not gonna spend the rest of my life in prison doing a court order for something that I was court ordered to do that has nothing to do with me and is none of my business. Well, I'm not gonna spend the rest of my life in jail and sit in there and rot while you walk around scot free, smoking all day and drinking all day and still having sex and still going to McDonald's and still going for a night of dinner and doing all that. Why the hell would I ever sacrifice my freedom for you? It would never happen. I like going to Applebee's. I like my date nights. I like my Applebee's and I like my date nights. Can't take that away from me. So, anyways, but on a real serious note, seriously, y'all, and keep it 100, take a lesson from Willie Lloyd. Crime don't pay. And you're either going to end up going to jail and being murdered one day. That's most definite. And if you join a gang, you're definitely going to be doing bits in jail. And you're definitely eventually going to die one day. Just like my friend Tommy Bell, who wasn't even in a gang. Hell, these days you don't even have to be in a gang to get shot. They're just killing innocent people now. You know? They're just killing innocent people. But, on a real note, that really is the only thing good that will ever come from a gang life is prison and jail. And you will either spend the rest of your life going in and out of prison and doing your bits, and you'll spend more time in prison than out of prison, and only to eventually get shot and killed by one of your rivals. That's what it all boils down to in the end. One of your rivals is going to catch up to you eventually. Everybody. So, be careful. And watch who you hang with. And watch what you do. Because what you do doesn't just affect you. It also affects other people. But even more so, you're the one that has to live with your life. You're the only one that's going to have to live with the consequences for the things that you do. Once those prison doors slam and reality sinks in, there's not going to be nobody there to save you that gave you that court order. Once those doors slam, that person that gave you that court order is not going to be there to save you. And they're not going to hold your hand while you're in prison. You'll be forgotten about until you're about to get out. And that's only if you survive the shanks and your prison mates. Everybody knows. I mean, I've seen videos of guys whose cellmate got pissed off at them and just literally grabbed their head and just smashed it and bashed it in up against the cement wall. And had like a whole handprint of his cranium just completely fallen off of his head and his brain exposed. And blood's everywhere. And the prison guards get there and the guy's covered in blood and the guy is on the ground. It was one of my prison documentaries that I watched. And they were dragging him out by his shoes and dragged him out of the cell. And by the time the guards got him out of the cell and the medics got up there, the dude was completely gone. His cellmate completely bashed his head in to the cement blocks and it killed him. Like, you ain't even got to worry about shanks anymore. Like, if these people want to kill you and you got a cellmate, all they got to do is say, hey, brother, you're a cellmate, right? Well, this is what we're about to do. We're about to pay you to put the drop on him. You do this for me, and I'll hook you up, and I'll put so much on your books. And I'll add it to your books before you do it, if you're willing to take it for me. That's how easy it is in prison. That is how easy it is in prison. You have to dodge your cellmates, you got to dodge other inmates, and you got to dodge shanks. And then you're constantly getting in fist fights. So, before y'all decide to join a gang, go on YouTube and Google whatever gang it is that you want to join or whatever, and just watch the violent videos and ask yourself before you join, am I really willing to do this and go this far? Let me know. Love your favorite criminologist. See you next time. Bye.